let's move over there. I've downloaded it, and here we go. This is what OBS looks like out of the box, and it's pretty, I guess, boring. There's not much to this window here. You have this nice window here, okay? We're going to go over the different parts of it, and then we're going to go over an example of how to set something up to do a recording today. And we will get into maybe just briefly how to do a stream as well. Okay, so let's go into the different sections that you'll really need to focus in on. Okay, so as I said, streaming or recording, it's all about what you are doing. It's your content. Okay, and from that perspective, you need video, you need audio. Okay. And we'll get into a few of the details of it. So let's start on the left side on the bottom here. These are the things you're going to look at first. Over here is called scenes. Okay. All right. One of the main parts you're going to look at, scenes. Okay. Over here to the left. Okay. And we'll explain what those are as we go. I'm just going to go over them briefly. Scenes are the first thing. This is going to be every scene is like a different web page, if you will, if you're used to web pages, okay? Or it's like this is one page of multiple things that I want grouped together in a scene, okay? So then we come over to the second one, which is sources, okay? And these are all the different things that are going to be shown on the screen or heard on the screen, or heard through the stream or the recording. So both audio and visual, okay, that will happen on this scene, okay? So this one says scene, it says scene, so there's lots of them. I'm going to rename this to we're going to call this my desktop window. And we'll talk about why. Okay, so that's what this scene is going to be called, desktop window. We might make one that says something else later. And then we're going to have to put some sources on it in a minute, okay? And then over here, in the third box where you see absolutely nothing right now, it's called the audio mixer, okay? And we're going to get into what that does, but basically, if there's nothing here, there is zero audio going to your stream or your recording. So you have absolutely nothing. So in here, eventually, you're going to want to see something like a microphone, more than likely, if you have a video camera, or even if you don't and you want to have just your own sound, you want your microphone. Typically, you'll see two things in here by default sometimes, which is your microphone and your desktop sounds. So it gives you some really easy ways to add sound. I never recommend using a default because you might want it in one place and not in another. So I will show you what that looks like later. Okay, good. That's the first thing. And then over here, we have some fading. This thing is not super important until you want to get into something more advanced, but we'll talk about it after we get some different things as the scene transitions. Finally, over here, you will use a lot of this stuff. Settings, studio mode, we'll get into later, virtual camera, start recording, start streaming. Obviously, these are kind of self-explanatory. If you want to start recording, click this button, and whatever is on this screen at any time will start to go into the recording until you click. This button will stop and then say end recording. And the same with start streaming. It will start going out to your stream once you set it up. Okay? All right, so these are the main things for setting up something. Now, we'll get into a couple of other things later, but probably very important to know. There are two things in OBS Studio which allow you to do multiple different collections of these things, right? So there's two things. There's a profile and a scenes collection. So if you want to have 6 different kind of content streams and you don't want all the things in together, then having a scene collection would be great. So let's say, like for me, I'm streaming 3 different content areas right now. I have my poker streams. Actually, I have 4. I have my poker streams. I have my poker study streams. I have my Bible streams, and now I have this one. I could have different scene collections that would only show the content areas that I want at a certain time if I create a scene collection. So you can see I have one that I use normally, which is called my 4K. This is for my delayed stream, and I just set one up called Streamer Setup. So that's what you get with this blank one. And then profiles, like if you wanted to stream to Twitch on one day and then stream to YouTube on a different one, having different profiles would be great for that, okay? And so we can create new ones. We'll get into that later. For now, you probably don't care. So we have our basic bland one here. This is called Streamer Setup. Okay, as you can see at the top, because that's what I found it. And I renamed this one the desktop window. All right, so if I have something called desktop window, I probably want it to show my desktop window, right? That's probably what I'm looking for, very simply. Okay, so let's add that in here. So let's go to our plus button in the sources, okay? And okay, we get a massive list that you can't see because it went down. How do I make it go up? Well, how do I make it go up? That's a really interesting problem. All right, let's see. Well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna move this thing up for a second. You'll see the bottom. Okay, we're gonna do this on the fly, see? All right, and now you can see this list, right? Here you go. All right, so we have what's called an application audio capture, which is in beta mode. We'll talk about that at some point. Audio input capture, okay? And you can see next to it, this is like a microphone. So do we want a microphone or some kind of input? We'll talk about those. And audio output capture, what's the difference? We'll get into that. Here's just a browser window, a browser. Color source, display, game, image, blah, 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 video, window capture, text, scene. Okay. So what we wanted, because we called it our desktop window, is we want to display capture. Okay. So here we go. We're going to call this display capture, and I'm going to call this my big monitor because I have multiple monitors. Okay. So we created a new one. We called it big monitor. And we want to make this source visible. Okay, great. So, I don't know if you got to see all that because of where it was. Actually, let me delete it and bring it back in. You guys can see that again. All right, so here we go. I chose, like I showed you before, display capture. And then this window comes up, okay? This says create or select a new source. I'm going to do it all over again since it wasn't in the middle of the window. Big monitor. Boom. All right. Now we have all these settings we're going to have to go through each and every time. And, you know, it's fun or not. Capture method, automatic. Just leave it unless you have any reason not to. And then here you go. These are actually going to show you your different monitors. And you can see I have 5 monitors to choose from. Okay, and for the purposes of this stream, and this is actually probably a good time to just pivot just a little bit. Well, let's just put one in here. So I have, here's my primary monitor. It is 3440 by 1440 as a base image, right? So let's just use that one. And oh my gosh, we got stuff everywhere. How are you going to see anything, right? You can see my Streamlabs in there. You can see my music on this side. Now I can hide that, but there you go. Good times, right? Actually, let's go back and choose one where I have nothing, which is this one here. All right, so that one has basically nothing in it, right? It has something. Let's choose the big one. All right, this one's big. This one is 3840 by 2160, okay? So this is a big 4K monitor, right? And because I called it my big monitor, That's what it is. Now, do I want the capture cursor button? Do you want the mouse to scroll across when you're doing something on it or not? That's up to you. Like if you're doing poker, maybe you do. Maybe you want to see yourself doing something on the screen, right? Here you can see it moving around when I move my mouse over there. Let's just leave it on for now for today's purposes. Okay, so a couple things to know right off the bat. This is a 4K monitor, okay? And I can't see it all, okay? I can't see everything that's in my monitor, okay? That's because it's 4K, and the image that it's looking for this stream is probably not that big. So let's go into our settings real quick, okay? And we're gonna go into the video here. All right, good. All right, so a couple things about some of these settings, and we'll go through them as we go. Base canvas, called the resolution here, right? So this is all a video concept, is how much you're going to record. So 1920 by 1080 is called 1080 or 1080p typically. And if you're going to stream, that's typically what you're going to do for the most part, unless you have a real reason to do it at some other level, right? If you wanted to stream to like Instagram or some other like vertical looking thing, you would choose a different canvas, right? There's lots of different ones here, but mostly these are based on the fact of what your monitors are set at, okay? So I could just choose this big one here. This is how big mine is. It's 3840 by 2160. Then I would be streaming into 4K. There's really no reason to stream or record in 4K for the most part, unless you have a specific game that really needs that. Secondly, you'd have to have a computer that can handle the bandwidth that's going to take that and the internet capacity to do all that. So I really don't recommend you do that base one. 1080 is typically where it's going to start by default. I totally recommend that as your sizing. Secondly, this one calls an output scaled resolution. So it took our 1080 and says, you know what? I'm going to make this into 720p so I can send less data across for recording or whatever else. I highly recommend that you don't do this. So I'd always go back and choose match the resolutions. Don't downscale it because this is going to actually use a lot of resources on your computer. Yes, if your biggest challenge is bandwidth for your internet, then maybe you do this. But otherwise, I recommend not doing it. You still have to have a super good computer to handle this. So keep them the same. So for us, we have 1080 versus 1080. Okay, and you can maybe get away with less frames per second if you have a super important video, like game that you're playing that you need 60 frames per second. You can go all the way up to 60. I would just stay at 30 for the most part, unless you have any real reason not to. Okay, so there you go. So our resolution now is 1080, and we're actually going to output it as 1080 as well. Those are important things. But we have a 4K monitor. We can't see everything. All right, how do we make this work? Okay, there's a couple ways. You can start like manually going through and scrolling it and trying to move it back in, and you'll see more and more as we go. You can just keep doing this, and oh, look, now I can see everything. It is Streamer Class 101. Okay, so now you can see it, and you can see like the bar at the bottom, right? This is my monitor. This is what it looks like, okay? And it's set up kind of weird, but that's for a purpose I have, right? Okay, that's my background. West Tennessee Dave with 7 icons on it, okay? Now, it's not perfect yet, but OBS kind of snaps things to the corner, which is great, and eventually we can get it here, and boom, now we've got the whole thing in there. Yay! Okay, simple. All right, now, if it was really big to start with, right, or I could just go in here, you can right-click and see this huge list. If I click, let's see here, what do I want to click? Where is it? Transform. So if I just say reset the transform, it goes right back to where it originally was. It goes back to its OG size, okay? Transform is transforming the size, right? Now, the other thing I could do, I think in here, is just fit to screen on a transform, right? And look at that. Does it super easy for me, right? So if you're trying to do it simple, boom, fit it to the screen, right? And voila, now you have something that you can record or stream, right? So we have now on our desktop window, okay, so scene, we have our big monitor, right? So if you're playing a game on here and you're just recording it for yourself, or you're playing poker, right? Very common thing to do, right? Let's just let's pull up something real quick, right? I'm gonna pull up a game here like we normally do. All right. Man, I haven't logged in forever. Hopefully they still let me. Yep. Okay, so if we come over here and we get a game, right? So look, I've got a game, I've got a window, I can move it wherever I want, right? So if I wanted to have like 6 windows up here, I could. If I just wanted to make it huge, voila, I've got a game. And I can now have some visual parts of a stream, right? Really simple. Okay. But let's say I wanted to do like 4 or 5 windows, because what I'm trying to get to is the concept of recording this, right? So I've got this one here, and I can make it bigger. Make this one bigger. Now I've got 2, okay? And we'll get one more up here, and let's put this one here. And there we go. Okay, so I got 3 on there. Okay? And if I click this button here, it says start recording. Let's just do it. Okay. So now I'm recording everything that happens in this session. So for my own personal use, if I wanted to come back and study my hands later or whatever else, I can record this on my computer. You see this little red button on the bottom. It's showing you how long you've been recording. And you see how I said it would say stop recording. So this will continue to record everything that happens on this monitor into a video file that you can then look at later and go back through and check out your gameplay. So there you go. Simple tool for you who are just poker players who might not ever be a streamer. The other concept is, like, let's say it's not about poker, but it's about something you want to do on YouTube, right? So eventually you could just, if you don't really know how to do it all, you basically set it up what you want to record, okay? And then you can click that record button. You'll get a video file, and then you could just upload that to YouTube, right? So it's a great way to basically make a video presentation, okay? So what do we have here? We got 1 minute and 20 seconds. So I'm gonna hit stop recording. It has stopped recording, and at the very bottom, it tells you where that link is, right? Okay, and that's based on your settings. We can go back to that. So if you wanted to come look at it, we'll go pick it up here real quick. Over here. So I can bring it over here, and here's my media player, and we can come back and watch. Look, we've just recorded our game session. Yay! Now we can go back and learn to get better at poker, okay? Or we can learn to do anything else.